Hey, all you scholars out there. Today I'll be teaching Marty. We have two games for him, and let's begin. This is against Sunship. We actually know him. He used to play a lot in the MGA League. I'm not sure if he's in it this month. Do you know,
I
Marty?
don't know. I don't
Yeah,
know.
he's definitely been around the
Oh, no,
Massachusetts.
no, I'm sorry. He is. Of course, I played him for this.
Oh, this was the MGA League. Okay.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
So yeah, how should I put it? Yeah, he's been around, so we all know him. So let us begin. So everything is good so far. I had no problems with any of your opening moves. You could have chose to make things more simple with this though. So I
That's
didn't.
him.
Oh yeah, okay. I was gonna say I didn't write it down, but now I see why I didn't write it down because that was him. um. So let us talk about this then. So normally you don't want to play high like this unless you have like a means of making territory on this side. Because he played high, this actually gives you the option to attack him here, and then you're building yourself a lot of potential while attacking him. So this is something that's going to come up later, but you could have done this once there was a lull in the fighting. But
Yeah,
yeah,
yeah, yeah.
this is a bad choice. He should play low because this is like an open door for attack. This is a closed door. It can't be attacked now. Um, so this was fun. And this is where this isn't a bad move, Marty. I'm sure you thought it was a very good move, and it is, right? You're extending from your wall. You're check extending against this group. But I think the order of your moves are a little off.
Hmm.
So the computer had many, many options. My first one, I think the computer preferred these three first, and we'll talk about that, like why. But my first one was if this was your decision to like attack this group, then I would
Hmm.
start with this one first.
Hmm.
Because now, once he plays up, it's very inefficient, right? And now you can take this checking.
Right,
But
right.
if you take this checking now, he can just play this and he's perfectly fine.
Yep.
So we want to sweep the base. We want to take away his base. And if he decides to play something like this, well, now you have two options, and both of them are really good because
Yeah.
you're just getting a full corner and he's injured, right? If you take
Yep.
Sente, this is great, right? Then you could play something over here or something. But yeah, so you had some good decisions. You had a good move, but the order you could have done it a little better, right? Like if this was your focus, I would make him heavy and keep your corner,
Yeah. Yeah.
and then hit him hard. The computer liked this one a lot because you can clearly see it opens up a weakness here, and it just hurts his group, right? And it's
Right.
also helping you expand yours, right? So it's almost like if we're approaching a star point, right? And we're doing a really good job of doing both attacking and extending.
Hmm.
So this is a really nice move. Do you know any of the follow ups, like if he like leaves this alone or something?
Uh, I would go to F18, I think.
That's the normal, but in this case, you have something better, which is
Ooh.
E17.
Ooh.
Let me put an announcement on OGS. Yeah. Yeah, so what is White going to do here, right? If White plays this, you connect. If White plays this, you connect.
Oh, yeah.
And so this is very damaging to him. You even get another
Yeah.
move, like you could play this first, and then if he fixes, then you come back. And so now the two stones get cut. And so this move is kind of devastating when somebody plays this high move here,
Yeah. Yeah.
because this feels really slow. And this is generally the correct answer, but it also just feels very slow, right? Like Black would love these exchanges later, right?
Right.
And so this is a very good move to remember when somebody plays this. This move is okay to use, like I said, if White has ability to make a lot of points here. But I really
Yeah.
don't like it if Black is facing it with the perfect move, right? So that's one reason the computer really liked this one. The other game moves that the computer liked was these two, and it's because it protects you from a checking extension,
Right.
right? So if you want to be conservative, you can do a 2 space. If you want to push on this more, you can do a 3 space. Yes, he gets the kick, but you can see that this would only help you.
Right.
So
Oh, okay.
yeah, so these were the preferred computer moves.
Mm,
This move I still think is good, but it's just out of order, right? Because you allow white to live too easy.
yeah. Yeah.
And then, so if you wanted to attack this, I would have gone with this first and then come over here. All right, so I'm gonna move on. I think this happens again in this game as well. It's a very, I think it's like the exact same position, right? We have over here the same exact position with the same exact checking extension you did versus A and B.
Yeah.
So it was funny that this repeated twice. Um, I think white moves okay. So once again, just the order of operations here, right? So this move is building up this and putting pressure on this group, but this
Hmm.
still has only one move away from living, right? And so
Right.
this is it's good for building, but it allows white to take a lot from you, right?
Yeah.
White
Yeah.
could even
Yeah.
play this, if he wants to,
Yeah.
because I think it would be fine for white. But this is just easier to look at.
Yeah.
So instead, what you should have done was take away the base, and then you can come, and you
Yeah.
can see that you save your corner, and he's actually significantly weaker here, right? Because he can't.
Excellent points.
Yeah, he can't make a base, so you got to take away the base first. The other moves, once again, the computer really like these. So
Hmm.
this this extension is too far, and so this weakness is still here. Now, you might not have known about this weakness, during this game, but I think now you can see this weakness is
Yes.
still here,
Yeah.
right? Like if
Yeah.
white, I don't know, if white Tanuki'd or something, you'd still be fine because you'd be able to push out, and so you can definitely make life with no problems,
Yeah.
right? And this would be good. I'm not saying these were white's optimal moves, but you can
Yeah.
clearly see that black is making a lot of space to make eyes. So this
Yeah.
weakness is here, and if he fixes the proper way, you can leave this forcing move alone and then come back to play, whatever you wanted to play after. Um, so that was mainly it. The other thing, like I said, the computer really just didn't want you to get a check extended here.
Mm-hmm.
So one of these moves it really liked a lot. Both of them it liked a lot. All right. So do you remember what Sensei Maeda says?
Crooked. No.
Yeah,
Make
yeah.
eyes.
No, 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 no. It's very, very specific. I even throw in the accent, which I hope isn't going to offend anybody. But Sensei Maeda from the International Asaka Go School taught me one thing. I've mentioned it to you a few times, right? Don't give him diagonals, right?
Right. Right. Right.
So
Right.
we have
Yes.
to keep
Yes.
our opponents
Yes.
straight, right? He always says
Yes.
streto. And
Yeah.
diagonal, right? He always says it just like that. That's how
Yes.
I always remember
Yes.
it.
Yes. 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 I
So
see.
if we play this move and he plays straight, there's no diagonals, right? So this doesn't
Right.
have good eye potential.
Right.
But once we play this, we one have to go into Gote, and two,
Hmm.
he's starting to make the diagonal shape, right? Sensei
Yeah.
Maeda talks about the diagonals, right? If we
Right.
give our opponents Tiger Mouse, then we're giving them the opportunity to make eyes. So this
Yeah.
move is much more effective, believe it or not, than this one because this is starting to create some Tiger Mouse.
Yeah. Yeah.
So that just that hit me in the head, right? Because he taught that to me many times. Um, but White didn't fix himself. Like, yeah, he jumped out, but there's definitely like a now like a pincer, here.
Yes.
So this is, I mean, clamp, I should say. This is gonna come
Yeah.
into effect much later on.
Yeah.
Let's see. I think this is fine. This move looks a little strange to me, just because he has a way in, right?
Right.
Like, and so this move looks a little weird because normally when we shoulder hit, it's because we want to make points in the center, right? But there's no points in the center for you, right? Because A and B are here.
So believe it or not, Michael, I was trying to prevent him from making like a big breadbasket there.
Okay, I see what you're saying. There's a potential of like him making
Yeah,
this much
yeah,
points.
yeah,
Um, but to be fair, I mean, I understand where you're going with that because if you like play something like this or this, it gives him the opportunity to play out, right? But still, it's going to take him a lot to make these points. He still has a big vector line. But ideally, right now, the main focus of this game, what do you think the main focus is actually? Like when I tell you to evaluate the board, what do I ask you to
yeah,
do?
yeah. So when I look at the board, the largest area is the upper right quadrant. That is, I'm hoping to make mine.
Okay. What else
And
is. Oh, go ahead.
yeah, and if I, and I guess he has the upper left. Well, yeah. So I guess to me, it's the lower left quadrant and the upper right quadrant that I think of as the largest places in the board.
Now, when I tell you to evaluate the board, there's also something else I'm looking for. Do you have any idea what it might
Weak,
be?
weak and strong. Weak and
Yeah.
strong.
So what is weak for white?
That little group tucked between my stones.
Yes. So when your opponent has a weak group, we want to that becomes mainly the focus of the game. If you can continue the attack, you need to continue the attack. Now, do I know the perfect move to continue this attack? Maybe not, but I like this one a lot. I also
Hmm.
like something like this, or this, or this, or this. Anything. I like this move and this move in particular, these two moves a lot. Because
Okay.
this threatens a huge incursion in this area, right?
Yes.
So what
Yes.
is if white backs off to block that incursion, then you can come out here, right, or over here, and just
Yeah.
continue to attack him. And as he runs away, right, like let's say you just play the most plainest moves, right? We're not talking any Hanes, which in this case I think the Hane would be good. Let's just say you play the plainest stuff, right? What's
Yeah.
actively happening to white and black? I'll tell you to make it easier.
Okay.
But essentially, when Black's pushing this way, you're already breaking that Moyo you were scared of.
Yeah. Yeah.
And
Yeah.
as he runs this way, you're going to start solidifying your points on the side.
Yes.
And White's
Yes.
making very little to probably 0 points as he's running away, right?
Yeah.
So this is what we've been covering in the past weeks: attack and defense.
Hmm. Hmm.
Understand that when your opponent has a weak group, that pretty much becomes the most important part of the board until it's either settled or you find some way to do a leaning attack, right? So let's
Yeah.
say if you attach to this or knighted this or attach to this, right? Depending
Hmm.
on what he's going to do, will help you gain strength, right? This isn't the
Yes.
best
Yeah.
move because he can probably split through you, which will just damage you, really. But maybe something like this or this would be nice. Like, yeah, he gets this move, but then you also get this, right?
Yeah.
And so now you can see by leaning on this group, you're starting to build some strength towards this. But he gets
Yeah.
Sente, and I don't like it, and so that's why I prefer these moves more. But ideally, yeah, this is the most important part of the board. That's what I wanted to say. So remember
Okay.
when you're evaluating the board, which you should be trying to do every time there's a break in the fight, right? So right here, there was a fight. Right here's a fight, and then there's a break in the fight. Right, he chose
Yeah.
to
Yeah.
Tanuki. So
Yeah.
now's the time where you should stop and like ask yourself, let's look at the whole board. And the first things you should do before even evaluating big and small territory is evaluate weakness and strength. If you have any weak groups, you should shore them up. If you have something to attack, you should, attack it. That's what Colossus teaches, but I learned
Yep.
that
Yep.
from the
Yep.
Yulin Yang. I learned that from the fundamentals book he put out, the fundamental principles of Go. I think that's. I mean, I could be wrong, but I think that's where Colossus got all his approach from, because the book pretty much covers everything he talks about.
Yeah. Yeah.
Um, But yeah, both resources are very good. So, have you ever looked at the Colossi approach? I know Terry loves it.
I have. I have.
Yeah, yeah. So anyway, yeah, it does talk about evaluating weakness. So this was the most important part here. So this was a little off field, right? Both this move here and this move here,
Yes.
they're off
Yes.
topic.
Yeah.
Uh, I understand this answer. And then finally, you get the good move. So this was where things started to spice up. You did a good job, and this was a huge mistake. He couldn't let you get this Panuki. He needed to play this because now you have two cutting stones, right? And so
Right.
B's vulnerable, and so White's going to have a chance to do something. Instead, he let you get this Panuki, and so now you get a gold star here. You get an A plus right there. Um, and you even put in here, which was good, but it's much better to surround your opponents on the outside
Yeah.
before
Yeah.
you do the inside moves. Because
Yeah.
even if White finds a way to live, is this really big or small?
No, it's tiny.
Right, and we should be satisfied if we can make our opponents squirm and live in small areas, right?
Yeah.
So, a good key to remember is to surround your opponents first before you do the killing move.
Hmm.
But it was still okay. It's just that White can kind of ignore this, and even if you come through, then White can kind of save it, most of its group,
Yeah.
right?
Yep.
Kinda, kinda. But I just felt like it would have been much better. And I checked with the computer; it would have been much better for you to play on the outside first. That's the general rule when it comes to
That's
surrounding your
yeah.
opponents.
Yeah. I mean, it looks much better.
Yeah.
Apparently, I watched a little bit of Dwyron looking at this game, and I should have clamped before somehow.
Okay.
Like I shouldn't have punched through. I should have clamped
Oh, like right
there.
now.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's fair. The clamp is an excellent move. But even after this, I think once you clamped here, all you had to do now was just play this, and White's
Yeah.
dead, right?
Is he really?
Yeah. How can he make two eyes? Right? You're on the
Oh yeah.
unsettled three part.
Well, that's depressing, Michael.
Well, actually, I should reverse that a little. So let's see. Boom, boom. Well, he has to fix, right?
Yeah.
And so now you can make it so there's no eyes in here, right? Just by
Yeah.
playing. I would still surround on the outside. I'd play
Yeah.
something like this.
Yeah. I mean, yeah. Yeah.
And if he plays like this, you're fine to play here. And then if he tries to make an eye here, I think he can actually. Oh, wait.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I think he can actually. But even so, what did you accomplish, right?
Yeah.
You made him live small. And this is
Right.
really good for you.
Right.
But I wouldn't have caught this. That's why Dwyron's obviously much better than me. I caught this after, right? Like I thought for a long time you should have played here, right?
Yeah. It was just, I'm sure, correct.
Yeah, yeah. And then there might be some other moves here that I'm missing. So like, in my killing ideal, right? I'm playing here, but maybe breaking the bamboo would be really good here, or maybe just peeping, right? And then play something like this
Yeah.
because this is looks kind of good enough. But once again, he can always just make this eye, right?
Right.
So either way, we'll move on.
Okay.
But yeah, if we just stem all the way back, like I said, it's most important to attack on the outside first. Ask him the questions if he wants to live in Gote, because even if he lives here, this is actually very painful for him. Right, this is going to take a lot of work, and it probably isn't going to work. Right. So let's move on.
So I really wish I had played at F14
14. Okay.
somehow.
Oh, I see. Like you wish you had this before.
Before I shouldn't have made that turn. I should have just played.
Yeah, you have a really strong point here, and it's something I did miss. So right now, this is what would we call this? Do you remember?
No, Iron Pillar? Who?
No, no, no. It's
No, it's
okay. It's okay,
just
Marty.
just
We
just
cover.
a 1 point cap.
Yeah, well, we covered this on last week's review, right? This is
Oh,
the
yes,
competing
Moyo line.
Moyos. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah,
So
yeah,
whoever gets this move first builds
yeah,
bigger, right?
yeah,
And whoever gets this first builds bigger and takes away from the other. So
yeah.
this was a very important point. Yeah, good catch on this. Um, yeah, whoever played here first is going to definitely make the better area. My focus was still on here. I still had beliefs that you could kill this group, and even if you can't, like, you can split it up, right, and take the advantage of
Yep,
splitting
yep,
your opponent here,
yeah,
right? You could see that you could probably profit a lot by attacking this.
yes.
So this was my where my eyes was, and less on this one. But I knew that this move felt like a little slow.
Yeah,
Yeah, this is, and then that makes this really awkward, right? This is so awkward, in my opinion,
yeah,
because no matter what you do, White's gonna profit quite a lot here now,
right. That's
right?
right.
And that's kind of what I think won him the game. So,
No, I agree.
hmm
And I thought I would be able to destroy things on on the bottom, but I just anyway, he played his end game much better than I did.
I
Like
think,
he had Sente
hmm,
just constantly.
yeah, I was gonna say, once again, I was still looking at this, right? This is
Oh
here in
yeah,
the
yeah, yeah,
background the whole time.
yeah.
Um, this is okay. I mean, I don't have a problem with it. One of the things that I did feel was this one, though, is bad. So right now, if you push here, does White have to answer you, right? Like, what if
Mm,
White played here?
yeah,
Or if White played, I don't know, here, right? Yeah, or
yeah. Had better
White fixed
moves.
this, right?
Yeah, yeah,
It's because this is really slow, right? So like if
yeah,
White plays
yeah,
this and you just
yeah,
play this or this, right?
yeah,
There's not much to it, right? You did get a
yeah,
nice reduction, but White got the
yeah.
better move.
Yes,
So when you're at this point of the game,
yeah,
um, like this makes sense to me because if White doesn't answer, then you can kind of try and you can take a lot more,
right.
right? So this makes a little more sense to me. But at this point, this move White doesn't have to answer, right? If you play here, so that's
Yeah,
when I would play a much better move, right? Like I'd play something like
yes, yeah, yeah,
this, or maybe try and just do something about this, right?
yeah.
But yeah, this was too slow, and this was painful, right? This is
Very.
and then this stunk too because now whatever chance you had of like attacking or sealing this in is gone now
Yeah,
because you had to
yeah,
defend here.
yeah.
So like if you did the double, by the way, yeah, you could have done the double Hana here because you have enough strength, right? If he Ataris, you fix. If he Ataris, you fix. He still has
Yes,
problems, right?
yeah, yeah,
And so you can actually, I think, kind of get away a little bit with this. This might be an overplay here, but you could definitely gain all this territory.
yeah,
If he tries this way, what can he do? There's nothing, right?
yeah.
So you could have double hunted here. That was a small Tetsuji. And he did get. This is actually very surprising. Okay, all right, you connected this way.
Yeah.
After move 100, you could see White had enough
Yep,
points
totally,
to win.
totally.
So you found the weakness again, which was last week's weakness we talked about a lot. But to be
Yes,
fair, my eyes were so focused on this group that I missed it too. So that was a really good catch on you. Um, so if we look at the most important parts of this game, one is just your choice of
Yes.
Like the how should I put it? It's the order of
Order
operations,
of
right?
moves. Yeah.
Yeah, the
Yeah.
order of moves here. Because you did this is a great move, but you gotta set it up first, right? If he can just fix himself in one move, then it's not as good as it looks.
Yes.
We want to learn this, right? We want to learn
Yes.
because I think a lot of people choose this because they don't get punished on it, right?
Yeah.
And so you can learn this now that this is a huge weakness when somebody does this.
Yeah.
If they have to do something like this, you've already gotten good exchanges and can move on or something, right? And
Yes.
if they tanuki because they think they're fine, then you can punish them severely. Because now, no matter what, you're going to be connected, right? If he plays this
Yes.
way, then you can
Yeah.
connect.
Yeah.
So this is a really good move to learn. It's also just understanding that this is also helping you build a lot in a checking
Right.
extension, right? So this was cool. This was a really cool example with many good moves. So that's fun to look at. And then same here. I think you were overcommitted on trying to build this right now. You need to keep the pressure on, so
Yes.
that way you can build in Sente. You could even
Yeah.
use your elephant's eye right now if you wanted to. The elephant
Oh,
jump.
yes.
He would push on, but he's gonna take a lot of damage while he does it, and
Yeah.
you can just keep profiting while he's making no eyes.
Yeah.
So if you remember, when you have two strengths on a two space base, this is
Yep.
actually a really strong attack. But if you were just looking to build, I think these would have been fine. But we needed this move, right, to take away his
Yeah.
base. That's the key.
Yeah.
Let's see. I just think this is like I understand why you might think this is a good move.
No, no, but
Um,
yeah.
yeah, but
Eh,
I like this a lot more because if he blocks everything straight, right? He's
Yeah.
got no diagonals, and even
Yeah.
if it
No,
went something like this, even if he lives, you should feel very satisfied with getting the strength this way and getting the strength this way.
yeah.
So we can be happy with, even if we don't kill him. So this is a really good thing to remember. It's very subtle, maybe even high level, you could call it. But the idea is if we give our opponents diagonals, we give them a lot of eye potential. But if
Yeah.
we keep our opponent straight, there's not really much eye potential down here. So something to remember. I always remembered it from Sensei. This was also very important to understand, right? Because I used to do the same thing. Like I'm like, oh, here's I can steal an eye here, right? This is the eye stealing Tetsuji.
Yep. Yep.
But we need to first surround our opponents before we play our placements. Most of the time. There's some times where that's not true, but most of the time we should focus on keeping our opponents surrounded first. That's mainly it. The last one was the one you found, which was how important this move was over here, right?
Yeah.
This is
Yeah.
so. This was the game-changing move, I think. Um, so that's mainly it for this game. But all in all, I think you played fairly well. I didn't have, there was many moves where you played, and I don't really have much to say about. You know what I mean?
Yeah. I say I felt. I mean, I didn't like losing, but I felt that I played pretty well, and he really had an end game to die for.
Yeah, I think a lot of your local techniques now are starting to become a lot sharper, right? But now we need you to really keep focusing on the global part of the board. Like like this first move here, like was really off topic. Same with
Yep.
white, mind you. This was really off topic. The most
Yeah.
important part of the board is this right now.
Yeah. Yeah.
So we have to keep evaluating each group, right? We have to make sure you're strong and he's weak, and then when you find his weakness, you have to keep making it weak, right? Um, because as he runs away, right? Remember that Moyo you were scared of here? Well,
Yes.
now
Yeah.
that
Yeah. Yeah.
disappears, right?
Yep.
And then
Yep.
if he starts running this way, then you get to shore up your points, right? You're starting to make this more
Yeah.
concrete. So
Yeah.
attacking, learning how to attack properly is the key. Um, but the only and you, I think you know how to attack, but you need to know when to attack, right? So
Yeah.
that's when your
Yes.
evaluation comes into play.
Yes.
So
Yes.
So same with this game. I think your local techniques are really good. Like you said yourself, you didn't think you thought you were doing well, but you just didn't get enough points, right? And it's that
Right.
global evaluation view that we have trouble with again. Let's start from the beginning.
Yeah.
Your opening, I think, is very strong nowadays, which is great. That's kind of like my expertise, right? Teaching direction of play and opening theory. Um, so this was once again the same example, right?
Yes. Yes.
You have a group here, and so if you kick them in this position, and he gets stronger, one, he's
Yep.
inefficient. Two, you saved your corner, and three, now you can check extend against him.
Yes. Yes.
And this is
Yes.
really nice order. But when you check extend against him now, he can just fix himself with one move.
Yes. Yes.
And so, like, yes, the exchange was good for you, but it could have been better the other way. Does that make
Yeah.
sense?
Yeah.
So I think this was okay. It's not like terrible, right? Like it's not
So,
like
Michael, I'm white.
yes, yeah, yeah,
Okay.
yeah. So I'm
Okay.
talking about this kick before this one, right?
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah. Yeah. Okay.
yeah. So I think this was everything was still okay, but at this point, once again, you played here when you should
Yes. I
be
see. I
focusing
see.
on the
I
corner.
see. I see. Okay.
Yeah,
Okay.
because if
Okay.
yeah, yeah, yeah. One thing to keep in mind, which I write down. Where did I write it down? I guess it was at move 76, but the idea is that you can focus more on your corners first before the
Yep.
sides, right?
Yep.
And so when
Yep.
I look at this checking extension, this is focusing on the side more than the corner, right?
Right.
So remember to
Right.
focus on your corners first, right? That's
Yeah.
kind of the key.
Yeah.
So yeah, this move, I would have played here myself. And the computer actually really like this now. The reason is because the computer is not the modern style Go isn't the biggest fan of five space extensions anymore. Before
Yeah.
2016, this was the cat's pajamas, right? This was what was happening. We loved five space extensions,
Yeah.
um, but now in modern times, the computer argues once we play here, we got the crap end of the stick because if
Yeah.
we play this way, it's only a small amount of points,
Right.
right? And if we play
Right.
this way, then we're just getting a wall facing black stones.
Right.
And so this five space extension isn't valued in the modern Go as much as it used to be. So that's why I think the computer was like, just fix this here,
Yeah. Yeah.
and you'll be, then you don't have to worry about this as much.
Yeah.
Like I guess you still technically do, but I don't know. The computer just really wanted you to fix here. For me though, like I said, I would have actively taken the corner first, and
Yeah.
then
Yeah. Yeah.
and then I would have
Yeah.
done what you did. To be honest,
Yeah.
like this is
Yeah.
exactly what I would have done.
Yeah.
All right. But still, yeah. So I just think this is out of order, right? Because
Okay.
now,
Yep. Yep.
he can play here, he can play here, he can
Yeah.
take this, right? There's a lot
Yes.
of things he can do.
Yes. Yes. Okay. So I have a question about the my playing on top.
This here.
No, the 4F, F4.
Oh, so I will say I like this decision.
Okay.
Just because this is starting to build up this.
Yep.
Maybe you would have been fine with something like this, or maybe a kick and then something like this. This is also okay, but I kind of
Okay.
like this. Oddly enough, maybe somebody stronger would argue with me, but I don't know. It looks okay. Why was that your question? If it was okay, or is there another question
Yeah.
to it?
That's the question.
Okay. I like this. I don't mind it. When we look at how it became the old style, I think you did really well. Like this looks like quite a lot. I'm sure there's some still weaknesses like somewhere, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
But I still think you'd be okay. You'd be able to manage this, right?
Mhm. I just want to,
Yeah,
I was attaching to a weak stone. I'm just trying to
yeah,
make
yeah.
sure.
I think it's okay, but honestly, I think any of these options would have been fine, right?
Okay.
I think you have a decent amount of things going on here.
Okay.
We can, if you really want, I can double check with the computer. That'd actually be a good idea just for both of us. But I thought it was fine.
Okay.
So it's not the best move, but it's not over one, right? Usually,
Okay.
if it's at like a -1, then I'm like, okay, that's a mistake, right? So I still think
So
it's fine.
it liked the kick. That's nuts.
I mean, I said I like the kick too. I don't. I think it's fine,
So
especially if
doesn't
Black
it
has to come
doesn't it
back here.
yeah, but doesn't it strengthen him? Then look at the I mean, I don't know.
It does, but you also become nicer, right? And then
Yeah.
later you can, if you wanted to shore up your corner, you can, right?
Yeah. Okay.
So I think it's fine. But
Okay.
like I said, I think your move's fine too. I'm
Okay.
assuming you played this because you wanted to build this, right?
Yes.
So I think that's fine. I think it's okay. And you did what you wanted to do, so it worked out. Um, some things you could do. I don't know. This is just off the top of my head, but you could also play this, I think, and be happy. You can extend the sacrifice, and then you can play even something like this if you want, and this. And so now you can do it in Sente.
Yes. Yes.
So I like this idea of making a sacrifice to fix this in Sente. But I think this is Joseki for a reason, so it's also fun.
Okay. Okay.
And I think it's Joseki for a reason. I don't know. I just wanted to mention it. So this is something that I I hope you feel like it's kind of painful to do.
Yes, but I didn't know what to do.
What to do, right? And I don't blame you. So there's two options. One, the computer like this the most, I think. This is pushing to threaten this cut here, right?
Yeah.
Because there's weakness on both sides.
Yeah.
And then you play on top here, and then you just you take your corner. That's what the computer wanted, right? Because I knew
Okay.
this is a good move.
Yeah. Yeah.
But what we look here is that essentially you just got stronger, right? You're particularly much stronger in this case,
Yep.
and so you don't have to worry about this small amount of territory right now. That's what
Okay.
White's kind of trying to tell you with this move, I think. And it
Yeah.
also reduced black, right? You're clearly keeping black very flat here,
Right.
which is
Right.
good.
Right.
Because if black gets another move out here, you could see the Moyo starts growing bigger, right? Um, the other thing it liked was this kick, because after
Yeah.
this exchange, then you can take your corner.
Yeah.
And so this kind of gives you like a little bit of a fix in Sente. There is some weaknesses here, mind you,
Yeah.
but then you
Yeah.
always have this push later, right? You always have, whatever Black's gonna do, you have this push later, right? So you
Okay.
always can make more strength very easily.
Okay.
So this move just feels very submissive, whereas this
Yep.
move takes some initiative, right? You see that
Okay.
you fix actively,
Yep. Yep.
and this move fixes actively, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
So this one, if you're fixing, but it's in Gote, it should always feel bad. So you can always come to me and ask me like, what could be done better here, right?
Right. Right.
But yeah, it was a little too slow. Oops, I'll go through the game. So this was great. I don't see you use the double Hane all the time, but this time it was very good. Did you feel good about it even after this?
Yeah.
Good.
Yep.
That's very good. Yeah, you used to be afraid of this, not too long ago.
Right.
So
Yes.
and I'm glad you got it. So this was very excellent. And this is where the questions keep coming back and back, right? Like this move looks to me like you're trying to attack this group,
Yes. I see, but I
but
haven't I haven't cut it off yet. Yes.
yeah, he can
Yes.
always fix himself, right? Like so
Yeah. Yeah.
easily.
Yeah.
So, and plus you have weakness here. So these two stones, there's still a weakness, right? You should
Yep.
be fine.
Yep.
But once he pokes through here, now this weakness is becoming more and more dangerous, right?
Yes.
And
Yes.
so this move opens yourself to some vulnerability, and it
Yep.
doesn't attack properly because he can fix himself. And
Yeah.
so something like this, once again, would have been much better. And the computer
Yep.
also really liked this move.
Huh. Okay.
Because now, like, well, even if you play something like this, you can just see that you kind of get everything you want, right? With no problems. There might
Yeah.
even be some nice follow ups with something like this, because if he cuts through, then you can connect under. Um, but yeah, they really like this peep here. Um, but now, yeah, see, your weakness is becoming more and more weak, and then you
Yep.
get cut off, right? Which
Yep.
stinks.
Yep.
So this move was just wrong on many fronts, right? It's wrong because of your weakness here. It's wrong because it's not attacking this properly. It's wrong
Mhm.
because yeah, that's pretty much why. So this was the decision that kind of hurt you a lot in this game. It made a wild swing in points.
Mm.
Um, and then you deciding to attack on this side and instead of saving your stones, I assume you're just so focused on vital points, right? I don't
Yes,
know.
and I thought it was a vital point, and I thought maybe I could save everything.
Yeah, yeah, you were too focused because we've gone over shape a lot, and so now you're like your eyes are on vital points, right?
Yeah.
Which is good. It's good to know these vital points, but you can't stay hyper focused on them, which takes time. And I totally understand where you're at because when I study shape, Tetsuji, stuff like that, then my eyes are only looking for those Tetsujis and shapes, right? And so
Right.
I miss bigger things, right? And in this case, you need to keep these stones alive, right? They're super
Mhm.
important for cutting,
Right. Right.
and these stones here at C and D are actually pretty safe, right? And so in the crosscut, we have to help our weaker stones, right?
Mhm.
That's
Right.
and so you needed another move like this.
Okay.
I don't
Okay.
know. I mean, like there's too much vulnerability here to like jump. I think, and so I
Okay.
hate making this like really slow move. But I
Yeah.
think it was like it's better than this one. I think,
Yeah.
right? Like I'll be honest, I'm not entirely sure, but I like this
Okay.
because it's actively like pushing on this weak group,
Right.
and it's just actively helping you escape this, right? And because
Yes.
if
Yeah.
these stones live, you still have an attack on this, right? And you
Yeah.
still have an
Yeah.
attack on this, believe it or not,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
But once you ignored the weakness in the crosscut, now you're just dead, and now all his
Yeah.
problems are saved, right? And
Yeah.
now
Yeah. Yeah.
this group
Yeah.
is fully
Yeah.
alive.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's just
Yeah.
painful. So this was the big swing of the game. Um, I think all these moves were good. Like when I was watching you play these moves, I thought that, like I said, your local technique is generally getting a lot better, right? Your movement and like poking at his stuff. But on a global scale, you keep missing the mark, right? Like Black got too many points down here,
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
which we can try and find when that happened. But um, just to continue on the notes that I have, and this looks like the last one I put down. Corners first, right? Like I know
Yeah.
that there's a weakness here, but here's a
Yeah.
nice, really thick corner for you.
Yeah.
Easily nine
Yeah.
to like 20 points, honestly, right? Like if we
Yeah.
count this
Yeah.
as a nine, and we count
Yeah.
this as a nine, and then the
Yeah.
two, here's 20 points right
Yeah.
there.
Yeah. Yeah.
So once black took this, you lost like so many points. Your 20 points
Yes.
became 11, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
So
Yeah.
it's
Yeah.
very, very painful. So in
Yeah.
both games, you kept forgetting about the corner, I
Oh.
think, for a little while.
Yep.
Um, so pretty much after this, like I said, most of your moves I saw they looked fine to me, right? Like all these. Here was something actually. I think you could have got away with this. Because if he pushes in, then you're fine, right? You can just kill him here.
Yes.
If you do what you did, then he can Atari you and take these stones.
Right.
And so he should have done that, but he didn't. He played here, which looked awful to me because now you get this beautiful Panuki, and all
Right.
the potential that Black had here is just completely squandered.
Yeah.
right? So you giving this Panuki away was way too good for you. So this is what I'm talking about. Like some of your local judgments in a like maybe you're preying on some of their weakness more than playing super good, but you could even just preying on somebody's weakness is a technique, right? And so I think you mentioned it as yourself. Like this was also a great move in my opinion because you have two ways out now, right?
Yep.
I would have felt like a genius if I played this move. Did you feel really good about this? Like I'm,
Genius. I wouldn't say that.
like I'm just
Uh,
being dead serious. Like this is a really good move. I'm like that's a pretty high level technique. If I was playing as the 6Q, I'd be like, is this guy really 13K? Right?
yeah, he may have said something about that in the. No,
Did he?
what he said was he said, "Well, you're playing way above your level." That's what he said. So
Yeah, and I believe that too. The crappy thing was you just lost because the early decisions, right? Like Black
yeah,
already got too much.
yeah,
But on
yeah,
your local techniques and everything, you're getting far better. Like I see it. And like I said before, I distracted myself. You mentioned it yourself that you feel like you're playing a lot better, right? But you still lost. Um, so I mean, here was like a little mistake I saw. Right, here's a little end game mistake.
yeah,
This would have been
yeah,
better, but when you play
yeah,
this, now you just die. Right.
yeah.
Um, but all in all, for the most part, your end game I thought was fine. I didn't have much problems with it. But black just got too much. So in both games, you played very well, but black just got too much, or your opponent got too
Yeah.
much.
Yeah.
So let's just find. So a lot for a quick evaluation, I look at all the local moves and like talk about everything local, right?
Yeah.
But on the evaluation scale, um, maybe yeah, I mean this is still okay to me. And this is so flat, so I never, it feels
That's
like
why I thought it was okay. But maybe again, I could have come to, oh, oh five. I mean, why not come from
once,
the other side too?
yeah, once black put a lot of pressure on this group. Locally, you're doing very good moves, right? Like this double Hane is very good. But I guess once he gets this move,
Yeah.
after you take your corner, right, and you
Yeah.
continue this attack, right, because you can attack this really
Yeah.
severely,
Yeah.
which would
Yeah.
then squander any Moyo that he could get here.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
I guess one weakness that I see in both games is that you keep missing the mark on how to attack
Yep.
weak groups,
Yep.
right?
Yep.
Like in this one, you guys both played away, and so you were missing the understanding of how weak this is. And in this
Yes.
case, kind of a very similar thing, right? You never
Right.
played this
Right.
move, and so
Right.
later on, he just fixes himself like super easy, right?
Yeah.
So you keep underestimating how attacking weak groups will help you
Yeah.
across the board. You understand it, but you keep missing it in the real games, right?
Yeah.
Um, but yeah, this was kind of the change, the what do you call it? The
Huh.
game changing move that
Yeah.
swung the game.
Yeah.
Because right now you still have some, like you said, peeps. You have all these, you have all these moves, right? That can like kind of squander this area a little bit more, right?
And when this guy at the end of the game, he said, if you back up one move,
Mhm.
another back up one more, he said so now go ahead. And now he said I should go forward to 7J. I could have pressed him down.
That's definitely a thing. He gets to hit you though, and you get to come back. So
Yeah.
it's not like it's the biggest difference. I think.
Yeah.
That's why I didn't mention it because a lot of times people will just play this, but this feels wrong because black gets sente right and good
Yeah.
exchange.
Yeah.
So I think your move was far better.
Okay.
This
All
is
right.
my opinion.
Yeah.
Um,
Well, you're a better player than he is, Michael.
yeah, yeah, yeah. But I mean, just looking at this, you're gonna have to come back, right? You're gonna have to fix,
Yeah.
in my opinion, right? Like if you
Yeah.
cut here, then the ladders don't work, but he still gets this nice exchange. You got to fix
Yeah.
anyway, and
Yeah.
then you could now it does make things a little more complicated. You could Atari and then play this, and I think black is okay. This wouldn't work for black, right? Although might be argue you could take this. Maybe he's right. Maybe he actually, yeah, maybe he's right. This weakness might be more weak than I thought. Because how is black going to handle this, right? You don't want
Yeah,
Atari in the crosscut. It just makes white stronger.
right,
And so I would harp on this weakness first, and then I'd have to figure out what to do next. Maybe
right,
I'd fix
right,
here, but then this would
right.
cause a big fight. So this would
Yeah,
be a different game for sure. You could push, and then black's gonna push, and so you're trying to connect to your group. The thing is, black also is getting a lot of weakness, but I think white's getting the advantage here. You know what? I'll give it to him. I think this
yeah.
J7 is pretty good.
Okay.
Just because it opens a huge weakness here. Because he has a weakness here, here, and here.
Yep.
So this is actually pretty good. But at first thought, I was like, oh, what's the point of this? But I see it now. Still, though, I like this move still in my defense.
Okay.
Because there's still plenty of stuff you can do here to break this
Yeah.
area up.
Yeah.
Right? There's so much you could do in this area.
Yeah. I wish I had.
But yeah, I think you got distracted and then attacked poorly, and then it backfired on you, right? Because
Yeah.
once you lost these
Yeah.
stones, now
Yeah.
everything that you had going good in this game is like kind of
Yep.
squandered.
Yeah.
I think you needed to just go a little further
Yeah.
because he can't cut you here, right?
Yeah.
And you can just go that a little extra further, and then you could play something like this, and I think it opens up a cut or this, yeah, because he can't disconnect you on either side, right?
Right. Right. Right.
And this would be fairly good for white, like if you captured more points here.
Yeah.
So I think you could have just gone a little further. This was a little too slow. You kind of get what I wanted though.
Yeah. But he has a lot of points there, right? I mean, in the end,
He
it.
does, but you can if you cut these two, you can recover
Yes.
some.
Yeah. 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 That's true. That's true.
If he fixes, then you can play into his territory a little, I think. But it is pretty dangerous. This is kind of the subtleties I'm not the best at, but I still like the idea of pushing a little further ahead.
Yeah. Yeah. It would have been better.
Because this one you're behind in the race, so it's very clear
Yep.
he should hit you on the head.
Yeah.
This one is pushing forward in the race, right? If we go
Yep.
back to our fundamentals.
Yeah.
All right. But yeah, even though he got a lot here, I think the real game-changing decision was this
Was
one
that.
here.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think this move was really bad. That caused a lot of problems for you.
It did.
All right, Marty. So our
All
lessons
right,
from these
Michael.
two games is to try and strengthen your evaluation. So think about that more during your games,
Yeah.
especially when somebody tanukis, right?
Yeah.
This is a very clear example of when he tanukied. You should
Yeah.
ask, should he have done that, right? Like, look at this. Should he have done that, right? Like, this is so weak, right? He should have played something like to protect himself a lot more.
Yeah. Yeah.
And when he didn't, it gave you a good big opportunity, which you did
Yeah.
get anyway. But it took you a long time, and White, got something out of it.
Yes. Yeah.
And same here with this, right? Like, first we would always argue to sweep the base, but
Yep.
once there was a lull, if we can find one. See, he kept taking Sente with this, right, and with this Joseki, so he kept taking
Yep.
Sente from you, which
Yeah.
actually makes it very difficult for you to do what you want, of course. But once this lull in the fight happened, I guess my point was to attack the weak point. You did, but
Yeah.
just in the wrong order.